The whole world was looking at the Xi'an summit, where President Xi spoke. I spoke a lot. So to elaborate on that, we have with us Mr. Zha Liyou, the Consul General of China in Kolkata, one of the top diplomat in here in Kolkata. I'll ask you one thing. President Xi mentioned in his address about Central Asia, spent a lot of time in his address about Central Asia. So, how do you interpret that? What exactly do you mean by going across to Central Asia, talking to Central Asian countries?
So, first of all, I do appreciate your interest and the interest from friends in East Asia, East India, in China's Central Asia Summit. As you can read from the media, from the community, in India, people around the world are watching this very closely.
Absolutely, and this is more important because the Central Asian countries are all ex-Soviet bloc countries.
Yeah, they were part of Soviet, and I think China recognized these countries for the last 30 years. And during this 30 years, China-Central Asia relationship has been developing for the better ever since then. So today, I would take some time to interpret for you, as Chinese Consul General in Kolkata, the implications and possibly some inspirations from how China organized this event to how China would develop this relationship and take it forward to develop the relationship. So basically, here is something I have prepared for you to understand. 5 presidents, together with the Chinese president, they had a wonderful summit in Xi'an. This is one. President Xi made his keynote speech as a great host in Xi'an. And if you recall our previous conversations, the many conversations, I do believe I mentioned Xi'an is the capital of Shanxi province. Xi'an is or has been or had been in history the capital city for 13 dynasties in Chinese history, especially the earlier periods of Chinese civilization. And Xi'an is the starting point of the traditional Silk Road. So this may resonate with the new Belt and Road Initiative of China. And in all these developments, Xi'an always has a special role to play. Xi'an is also very significant for India too, because my friends in Kolkata always talk about Xuanzang, the Tang dynastic monk traveling to Nalanda. In today's word, he was the Chinese student, conducting overseas study in Nalanda University. So he started his journey westward from Xi'an and returned to Xi'an to translate all the Buddhist scripts in Xi'an. So
historically, Xi'an is very important on that aspect, and what you just now pointed out, there is a Silk Route, and for the Belt and Road Initiative, that Xi'an is utmost hub.
Xi'an is a very, very significant hub, and it is located right at the eastern end of West China. So it is in the interface between East and Central China. From there, westward is called China's West. So geographically, it is very, very significant in history and in present-day China. And this is good for you to know that Shanxi province, the province, leading Xi'an, is the hometown of my president, President Xi. And also, I think the President Xi met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Xi'an too. They had a nice walk on the city wall of the great city. So it is a great city that hosted just a couple of days ago the China Central Asia Leadership Summit, the President Summit. And
what did the presidents discuss, and what is President Xi's agenda in taking forward, and how exactly?
So
what did
he in brief, in his keynote speech, he covered, say, three major areas. One is how do we see the development of Central Asia? This is first. And then, how do we take China-Central Asia relationship forward? Two. And three is, what would China do to facilitate this relationship? So for the first part, how do we see the development of Central Asia? What Central Asia should look like? Okay, so for this part, say, the president said that the world needs a prosperous, stable, harmonious, and connected Central Asia. As you can see, these words are all positive. The world needs, including China, India, any other country, US, we need a stable, prosperous, harmonious, connected Central Asia. So this is the first part. Second part is, how do we see how do we see the China-Central Asia relationship? So in our view, that we must maintain. We would develop China-Central Asia community of shared future. So this is very important. China-Central Asia community of shared future. In this regard, the president proposes that it must be based on mutual assistance, common prosperity, universal security, and everlasting amity and friendship. So this is how, when we say we develop the relationship, China said that this is the China-Central Asia community of shared future. It must be based on mutual assistance, common prosperity, universal security, and everlasting friendship. So this is two. So for the last one, how would China develop this relationship? By what way? So in this regard, the president made 8 proposals. 8. So I would briefly introduce to you these 8. One is the strengthened institutional exchange. That is, China between these Central Asia states. We have had a lot of exchange programs. Now, taking this summit forward, we would strengthen our institutions of exchanges. There are many, especially the China Central Asia Leadership Summit, which will be held every 2 years since now. So next time it will be in Kazakhstan in 2 years' time. Second is to expand economic and trade ties. So this is easy to understand. So building on the past successes, experiences, because China has always been very close to Central Asia countries some of them bordering Xinjiang, another major Muslim majority region in China. It's in the same area. So to expand economic trade ties is another proposal, second proposal. Third proposal is to deepen the mutual connectivity, mutual communication. That is about the railway connectivity, airway connectivity, highway connectivity. Some of them are already in operation, just like China, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan highway, China, Central Asia air transportation facilities, and the pipeline, the energy pipeline connectivity, etc., etc. So, to deepen the mutual connectivity. Fourth one is to expand the cooperation in energy area. The China Central Asia energy corridor. Yeah. So taking this summit forward, the energy cooperation will be further strengthened. The fifth one is to green tech, green innovation. That is, we are in this era of globalization. Even though people in the West they don't like this, right? But climate change,
Environment friendly.
affects all of us. So China has been doing very well, as you can see from the news from China. China's nuclear tech, China's wind power, China's solar power have been widely applied in the west, northwest, and southwest of China. So China, Central Asia countries will be in a very good position to expand cooperation in green innovation, green creation. Yeah. The sixth one is to upgrade the developmental capability. That is, areas such as poverty, areas such as skills training. These are the areas that will help our people to improve the capability. So, developmental capability. Seventh is strengthen dialogues across civilizations. China has always advocated that all countries, small and big, are equal. So Central Asian countries in history, just like India, I think India and China, Central Asia, we are connected, these ways through the centuries. We would encourage dialogues across civilizations, and China has been putting to many concrete actions in doing this. The eighth is to safeguard regional security. As I said from the very beginning, from what we see, how should we see the positioning, development, the position of the development of Central Asia? We advocate universal security. We advocate mutual assistance. We advocate that the common prosperity. These are basically the same thing. So these are the key parts, key components of the president's keynote speech. This is the first time in this new era, led by President Xi Jinping, Chinese leadership for the very first time, most comprehensive, concentrated, and very specific explanation of China's policy towards Central Asia. And actually, as a foreign policy, such proposals have been highly appraised, warmly responded, and holistically agreed by leaders of Central Asia countries. And it was set direction, the action plan, actions for for the building up of China's Central Asia
Relationship.
community of shared future. So after the, it has been achieved. It achieved a lot of things. So after the summit that was between May 18th and 19th, 2 days. So after this summit, Chinese Foreign Minister and State Councillor Qin Gang, he visited Goa a couple of weeks ago. He met the media. He summarized that, okay, how do we see the impact? How do we see the achievement of the summit? He basically, he said, there are 5 new, okay, new and old, the new for new, new ideas, new. So he said there are 5 new massive achievements. First, the summit provides new energy, new motivation for strengthening China-Central Asia relationship, and featuring China-Central Asia community of shared future. This is very critical. Leadership provide the new momentum, new motivation, new
But
energy.
these are things what President Xi also said in his speech that you mentioned the 8.
This is the conclusion. This is the comment from Chinese Foreign Minister. This is very important. Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is on the 8th point of regional security, the Central Asian countries and China to provide regional security. Now, immediately their neighbor, there's a war between Russia and Ukraine going on. So, are the Central Asian countries and China going to take steps in endeavor to stop the war?
I don't think this is the agenda of the summit, because this is only China, Central Asia countries only. So when I say that it provides new energy for the China, Central Asia, it's China, Central Asia only. So this is one. The next new is the new platforms. As you can see that 5 presidents from Central Asia joining President Xi in China. This is the first summit between these 6 presidents. So it's a new platform of conversation, communication, dialogue. So it means that it established a new platform for exchanges in every areas, in all aspects, whatever. So in China we said this, the leadership is there to build up the framework of the house and the beams and pillars of the house. Just like in this room, if you want to build a good house, you need the structures, the framework, the pillars, the frames. So the presidents of these countries, they set up these frames and beams and pillars for all other conversations. Yeah. And also, this relates to diplomacy, trade, customs, business leaders. Specifically, they said that they will set up the entrepreneurs committee, think tanks, healthcare alliance, and then they would they agreed to establish the dialogue mechanism in investment, transportation, agriculture, emergency management, education, political party, etc., etc. Most important in this part is the poverty reduction cooperation subcommittee. So, because I'm in India, so I find it very fascinating, because actually China and India, we both have tremendous experiences in fighting poverty, and we can share. And this sets a good example for common-minded people to think about. The third one is the summit opens new vision for us to see how we can build up a win-win future. The summit opens or breaks new vision for us to see new channels. This regarding, for example, the cross-border transportation, the Caspian Sea transportation corridor, the China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railway project, China Central Asia energy development, etc., etc. Especially, I noticed from the TV program, TV news, that China has opened a couple of Luban workshops, or you can say Luban studios, meaning it's a technical training. China mobilized resources, training resources, vocational resources in Central Asia countries, where the best Chinese craftsmen are being sent to these countries to train their young people. It's a very, very, very good program, very good idea. Just one example. And other areas would like a TCM, just like Indian Veda, right? Traditional Indian medical science. Chinese TCM, together with the Western, the traditional medicine in these countries, we can set up a traditional medical center, cultural center, the chartered tourism train, So because now the train is being opened, and China can organize, and in between China and Central Asia, we can organize the tourism chartered train. I have seen this in Xinjiang, within Xinjiang, not yet outbound. So there are many such new vision, new ideas. So new ideas means new business opportunities too. The fourth one is the summit contributes new forces to safeguard international justice and fairness. Actually, here, Central Asia countries, they have been, bullied by separatism, extremism, and terrorism. China is also one of the countries affected, especially Xinjiang has been affected by these, three forces: extremism, separatism, and terrorism. So when they say that, when we say that the summit provides new forces to safeguard international justice, this is one very important concept in this. That is, to do this, how to get rid of poverty, for example, how to get rid of extremism, separatism, because Chinese Xinjiang has been, stable for the last couple of years. No violence anymore. No terrorists allowed anymore, just like, say, India. Okay, we have been trying very hard. Most important thing is how China develops itself with such a model. We said China-style modernization. And Central Asian leaders in China, we agreed that Chinese modernization is pivotal, is instrumental for human progress. So when people develop, these extreme forces will be eradicated. So this is new forces. The fifth one is the new model of unity and self-development. The summit gives us a new model for developing countries. In India, we are talking about, China are talking about this too, the Global South. Global South in history, we have always been on the weak side. We have been bullied. We have been colonized, and we are looking for new models to, to develop ourselves. But except the Western model, Western liberal values, what else? Do we have to follow this only one model? So as I said, China has contributed to the international community, a Chinese-style modernization model. So the president said that the Central Asia countries must be stable, must be prosperous. We cannot see our neighbors in dire situation, right? Nobody wants your close neighbor in dire situation. Harmonious and connected. As I said over and over again, that look at Canada and the United States. They have been developing. They have been connected for decades. Their travel across borders is so easy, but we in Asia, we are always facing difficulties in connecting ourselves. Why? Because
We are looking forward to such a situation now.
yeah, I mean, the president's proposal is that we want to see our Central Asia that is stable, prosperous, harmonious, and connected.
You just mentioned that.
Yeah, highway, airway, railway, and also when we have the connectivity, goods, people, art, mutually communicating, that will be happening. This I don't have the time to explain all the details. Many very good commodities from Central Asia are transporting to China, and also they are the landlocked countries. They don't have sea. So I mentioned Xi'an is pivotal in Silk Road in today's BRI, because Xi'an is not the end, is not the beginning of BRI today. My home is one of the starting point. My home is all the way eastward to the sea, to China's Yellow Sea. The port city is my home city. It's called the Lianyungang. So Lianyungang is the seaport. It's becoming the seaport of these Central Asian countries due to the upgraded facility of connectivity. Bullet train, for example. If we traveled in the last in the past, maybe 30, 40 years ago, when the railway was very slow, now it's very quick. So my hometown is becoming the seaport of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's commodities can be exported to the US, for example, via my seaport.
Right.
So this is the connectivity. We want to see this. And also the sovereignty, security, independence, and territory of these countries must be maintained.
So overall, it's a wholesome exchange of ideas and wholesome cooperation between Central Asian countries and China.
Yeah. So Xi'an, as I said, was the capital of Tang Dynasty. Xuanzang, in Tang Dynasty, in early Tang Dynasty, visited Nalanda. He spent 14 years in Nalanda, in India. So he started from Xi'an. And he returned after 14 years from India. He returned to Xi'an to translate the Buddhist scripts. This time, my president, graciously welcomed leaders of Central Asia, this Tang Dynasty capital, with a Tang Dynastic style entrance ritual. See how leaders enter the gate of a grand city. So that is one. So they called Tang style ritual for welcoming the most distinguished guest. This is one. they the place my president hosted the presidents, these presidents, is called the Tang Lotus Garden, with a totally Tang style dancing. It's a grand event, and all of these rituals, protocols were in not that Chinese today it's everyday style, but rather China is so diverse, is so deep in history, and we have this tradition to entertain the best friend, best guest from China. So this is the comment from my foreign minister and state councillor. As I said, that I would like to draw your attention to something that, okay, when we friends in India, we look at this, we read about the news of China Central Asia summit. What is it about? What is the takeaway from it? My view is, as I said, I'm just the consul general. I'm not talking about policy. I'm just saying that, okay, this is very interesting for me because I have all friends here in Kolkata. First one is, we had this summit 1 or 2 days before Hiroshima, G7. I think you can immediately recall the differences. For the Chinese summit, it's harmonious, it's friendly, it's people mutually respect each other, all people, all leaders equal. Look at the Hiroshima. It's interesting that they organize this every time, trying to interfere, especially this time, interfere the affairs of China regarding Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tibet, etc., etc. We talk about in Xi'an how to help each other, how to connect each other, and we advocate that we want our neighbors good to be good. Think about Tokyo on the Hiroshima. Every piece of message they send is how to divide, how to infringe the benefit interest of others. So this is the first one. The second one is we have this is China Central Asia institution, summit institution, and most of the Central Asia countries, they are the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So as you can see that as China is doing this with the Central Asia, and quite many parts of Shanghai Cooperation countries, business, the relationship development is the same. So this is something I think it could be very interesting to notice that if we organize event like this, and China's way of doing this, China hosting the summit could be very inspirational. Third one is that Central Asia countries, China and India, all of us, we are developing countries. We are the global south. And developing countries, we are facing the same challenges, and we should find our way by joining our hands. And I do believe many of the mechanisms talked about in the president's speech and in the 7 signed documents, 100 agreements in many of these areas agreed upon could be very inspirational for us. For example, as I said, I'm very interested in facilitating West Bengal China economic ties. We could analyze, reduce this big one into the specifics: trade, travel, art, the studio, the Luban studio. Luban was China's greatest carpenter 2,000 years ago. Today, China has the highest award for building houses, construction. So Luban studio, very, very interesting. The fourth one is that China said that China Central Asia Summit is open. It's open, it's inclusive. It doesn't target anyone. It's just for the building of our own community. So this is also I think that China says that Central Asia countries, I do mean other countries as well, that welcome to ride our track to develop ourselves free. That is, from a Central Asia perspective, China is developing relatively better, fare better. But Central Asia countries are welcome to ride the track of China, free of charge. So regarding my job in West Bengal, I've been living in town for the last for nearly 4.5 years. So 4 years and 5 months. Now the flights has not resumed, but many friends of mine, many people you know in community, they are traveling to China via Bangkok. So the momentum is unstoppable because the opportunity is over there in China. And many people ask me about how to, invest in India. So I'm trying to help them. Recently, there's a very good name company, very good brand, going to China. They came to my office saying that I need your support. Can you connect us with several? They know, they do the homework. They know who in China is good.
That's the relationship in West Bengal and China that
China.
you're speaking about. But we are just focusing on the Central Asia China Summit, and you very nicely explained about your president's intentions in Central Asia and how the Central Asian presidents and how you the summit in Xi'an and vis-a-vis the Hiroshima summit. So there is the interpretation that you made. One last thing that I wanted to ask you: what do you see the way forward from here?
Well, personally, as I explained to you this case, I am optimistic, but we need concrete actions. And our business people, they are the vanguard. They are most sensitive to the improved environment. For example, China is entirely open. And we are, as you can see, China Central Asia Summit is the first major China-centered international event. And you will see in the next months many more hosted by China. And I'm very confident. I believe that joint efforts make sense. Joint efforts matter. And because I'm based in Kolkata, so I'm advocating the efforts. I maintain, I insist that friends in West Bengal, friends in Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, and Chhattisgarh, these areas relative to Southern India and West India, Bombay area, Delhi area, we are not in a very advantageous position. And I believe that we need to work harder. I look forward to many more conversations as I have been doing. I look forward to conversations with the friends to advise them how to add value to our current practices. It has been proven. It's really a value-added conversation that I look forward to. So thank you, Avijit.
Thank you very much. And China Central Asia Summit is not the last one. There will be many more such summits, as China's top diplomat, Mr. Zha Liyou, told us just now. He also explained the interpretations of this summit and vis-a-vis the summit that happened in Hiroshima. Avijit Nandi Majumdar for A&M News from Kolkata.
Please don't forget to subscribe our channel and also click the bell icon to get the latest updates.